we got to talk this Texas #1 class. It came with a flip, a shocker, some key holds, but let's start with the flip. It happened the night before signing day. LSU cornerback Kade Phillips flips his commitment. It was going back and forth. We thought he was going to stick, but in the end, he's a Texas Longhorn. How'd they do it?
Yeah, the morning before, Josh, and it was a lot of back and forth with LSU, Texas. Will he stick? Will he visit? Can the Longhorns get it done? There was some times where it looked like he was going to stay locked in with LSU, but Texas was relentless. The number 4 cornerback in the country, an on-3 5-star recruit. Kade Phillips was one of the most coveted players down the stretch for Steve Sarkisian and his staff. And I talked to a source around Austin on Sunday that said, I think we're going to finish with the number 1 recruiting class in the country. And they did just that. And it was the Kade Phillips momentum that kind of took them into Wednesday, which then ended on Friday with the commitment of Justice Terry. But one of the most tradesy cornerbacks in the country going to Texas to keep this defense playing championship caliber for years to come.
All right, and then there was the big one that went down on signing day. It really locked it up for the Horns in that number 1 spot. Justice Terry, 5-star plus defensive lineman, picks Texas over Georgia amongst others, but Georgia was really the team that we were watching with Justice Terry. What do you think it was in the end with Texas to land him?
Well, I think that infrastructure and resources have a lot to do with some of these recruitments coming down the stretch, and I think Texas is obviously very competitive in that arena. He took his official visit to Austin for Texas's home game against Georgia, so he got a chance to take in that atmosphere and environment, see how important football is around Austin. Continue to have dialogue with this Texas coaching staff, certainly sees a program right there in the hunt. Again, on Sunday, leading into the early signing period, I wrote that Texas did indeed have a shot at the number 1 class, and there was confidence around Austin that they could win out for Justice Terry and that it was coming down to Texas or Georgia. Now, there was a lot of confidence around Auburn as well, being one of the final 3 schools for Justice Terry, but in the end, he chose Texas. I think the nerves really started to pick up around Athens the night before that they could ultimately lose Justice Terry, and they obviously did. He was the one that clinched the number 1 recruiting class for Texas at the end of the cycle. And in between Kade Phillips and Justice Terry, Texas landed a commitment from Michael Terry, Josh, the number 1 athlete in the country. They beat Nebraska for him. They were the longtime leader for Michael Terry. The opportunity to come in and play in a variety of roles in Texas's offense excites him. The relationship with Coach Sarkisian, Coach A.J. Milwee, Tashard Choice, being down the road from family, that locked it up for Michael Terry. They had the big flip of Kade Phillips, and then obviously added Justice Terry to clinch the number 1 class.
And there were some big holds because without keeping Josiah Sharman, Myron Charles, Jamie French in the fold, they might not finish number 1. How tough was it? I mean, Texas obviously did it, but I mean, they were coming after their commits down to the wire.
Well, that last day before the dead period, Josiah Sharma took a visit to USC. So the last campus, the last coaches he saw face-to-face were Trojans coaches. But Texas stood strong in the paint, hung in there, and kept one of their most coveted targets committed. If you remember, Josiah committed to Oregon. Texas flipped him from the Ducks. Alabama was also a major contender. So that was just a blue chip battle royal throughout the process. And Texas won that battle a couple times. The same goes with Jamie French, the receiver from Florida, took a visit, an official visit to Florida right after the vote of confidence for Billy Napier. His high school quarterback, Tramel Jones, flips from Florida State to Florida. There was some excitement about potentially playing with DJ Lagway in Gainesville, but Texas hangs on. You talk about the excitement of potentially playing with DJ Lagway. Texas just counters, well, why don't you come play with Arch Manning? And so obviously Jamie French is going to come play with Arch Manning for a program. They beat Ohio State. They beat LSU. They beat Miami for Jamie French the first time. They beat Florida for him down the stretch. Some really huge holds, some really big recruiting wins. This class is highlighted by what they've done at the point of attack and defense across the board. Nobody recruited a better defensive class than Texas this cycle, and folks in Austin should be excited about the future of guys that are coming in this 2025 haul.
What a winding, twisting road that the Longhorns had to take to get there, but they finished with the number 1 class in America, 2 top 50 commitments on National Signing Day. They hold on to all their big dogs, and that is the recipe for finishing at the top. Texas fans, talk to us. How you guys feeling about this class? Let us know. Comment section below.